What's up, everybody? It's been a while since I've done a video as CRYPTOPHER, so I just wanted to cover cryptocurrencies. We've seen a very nice rally in many of the currencies and the cryptos, I should say, not to be confused with the fiat currencies. I did tell people that I've got, for a while when Bitcoin was dropping, about 10,000, I was buying in, and it got to 8,000, and I was like, I'm losing money per purchase, so I got out of Bitcoin and I kind of waited. And I said, when Bitcoin gets down to 3,000 or closer to 3,000, I'm going to start buying in. I did do that, but I didn't buy Bitcoin. I actually bought into Litecoin, and I'm okay with that because Litecoin has done pretty well for me. Here's my take on Bitcoin, okay? I don't trust it, okay? The whole issue of trust is a big issue for me, and the fact that blockchain is traceable, and you can go search transactions that have happened through Bitcoin, makes me somewhat cautious about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the main one. And the FOMO, or the fear of missing out, that's been pushed and kind of gotten people involved, I think is kind of timed poorly. Right now with China and the trade tariffs, if you look at what Bitcoin's been doing, Bitcoin has kind of been reacting to really bad news around the world. So if you watch, every time Bitcoin rallied, it rallied, like, for instance, when there was a currency issue in Turkey, or a currency issue around the world, like Venezuela. You had Venezuela starting to collapse, and you started to get Bitcoin really rallying. And every time that Donald Trump would, make a comment about how he's going to, recognize Guaido, who's the guy challenging Maduro in Venezuela for the presidency, you saw Bitcoin would rally. You're seeing the China-U.S. trade standoff. Now you see Bitcoin kind of take off. So most of this Bitcoin stuff is related to fiat currency events. And if you watch it closely, you'll see that every time China would, pump the markets by dumping in yuan into the marketplace, or let their current currency float, you would see Bitcoin be an alternative. And also, people having bad experiences in their country, and they need to flee and take their currency out. So this is the way I see it happening. I'm at work, sorry. So I got people walking around me, and I'm just taking my break real quick. So I just wanted to do a quick video for my 15-minute break. So the way I see it is, I don't trust Bitcoin. Ultimately, gold and silver are my ultimate currencies. However, at the same time, gold and silver are not easily transferable long distances. So you want to make sure that if you're going to use cryptocurrencies, you don't stay in them too long. So I would hop between cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies, in terms of, pay a close attention to what sovereign governments are doing. And if you don't like what the sovereign government is doing, hop out of that fiat currency into a cryptocurrency. If you're worried about long-term global economic issues, hop into gold and silver. If you feel like all currencies eventually are going to crap out, gold and silver again. And I think ultimately, when the reset or the crisis hits, you're going to have capitulation in the assets that have gone up the most. And at this point, cryptocurrencies have far surpassed the increase in value of the precious metals. So you would rather hold your wealth in precious metals, because the crash in precious metals is very small compared to the potential crash in cryptocurrency. So, and you have a typical sell in May and go away type philosophy. So, I mean, we're seeing a crash in May in the stock market, and with Bitcoin rallying the way it has, I don't see another way it can go but have a correction. I do believe we're in a bull market for Bitcoin. Whether it's manipulated or not, I could care less. I see an opportunity to make money, but you must continue to follow the rules. Nothing goes up forever. You throw a ball in the air, and at some point, it will fall. Doesn't matter how hard you throw it. You can shoot it from a gun. A bullet, even coming from a gun, only goes so far up into the atmosphere, and then eventually it reverses direction and comes back down. Doesn't go up into outer space and continue on forever just because gravity's there. And so the physics of the real world are the same as the physics of the markets, because you have countering forces. If it were everybody only in one direction, then yeah, you'd go forever. And a bubble is sort of like that. A bubble is like everybody putting force in one direction to make the price rally. But at some point, you need to have the other side. If you're a seller, you need to have buyers, right? Or else you can't really sell your product. If you're a buyer, you need to have sellers in order to acquire something. So you need the opposing force. So when you get too far on one end, with everybody piling on one end of the spectrum, it can only go so far because we have a finite number of people in the world. That is somewhat changing with derivatives and with computerized algorithm trading, because you're adding more entities and more force or leverage into markets. So what I caution people about is we are going to see a lot of volatility. We've already seen a lot of volatility. This is the reason why I'm not a financial advisor anymore. So everything I tell you is not financial advice. It's merely to spark your own interest so that you can go educate yourself about the things that I educate myself and the things that I already have experience on. I'm not always right. I don't profess to be always right, although my calls have been pretty good. They've been pretty spot on. But what I'm saying to you is be very cautious about when you enter. So right now in the cryptocurrency markets, we're hearing a lot of FOMO. People are like, oh, look at Bitcoin. Oh, you guys should have got in at 3,000 and now look, Bitcoin's at 8,000 and blah, 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 blah. And it could go to 10 or 50 or 30 or what, no. When something goes straight up like that, gravity is going to take effect. So do you really want to risk at this point entering the market and having it wipe you out? It's a good question, right? So what I caution people, hey, if it continues from here on, sucks to be you. I've been putting out videos about this for years now. I've been getting into crypto. I've been in cryptocurrencies for at least a couple years, since 2017. So, when I say years, it's been at least 2 years. And I have experience with Bitcoin since 2008 when I was a commodities specialist. So, I experienced the 30-cent Bitcoin that was dropping and everybody was saying is the end of the world. And then 10 years later, I hear about Bitcoin. And that's when I realized this is an asset that I need to look into, even though I don't understand it. It's a potential to make money because the price was already multiples higher than 30 cents. If I had bought it at that time, which was more difficult to do, of course, because you had to be a computer programmer and you had to understand computer language. Now it's very easy. It's also very easy to be on an exchange. I'd probably be a multi-billionaire at this point because I would have had Bitcoin at 30 cents, but, whatever. I'm in it now, and I'm enjoying the movement. So when Bitcoin moves, it's the biggest currency, it's the most prominent, and so all the other cryptocurrencies tend to follow. So that's why I enjoy the other cryptocurrencies, and I stick with the main ones. I do have a few more obscure altcoins. Some of them, it turned out to be real shit coins, but that's okay. I put money on it because I made money in the other places, so I'm willing to take that risk. I have a higher risk tolerance, and to me, it's money that I'm willing to lose because that's why I work. I constantly have money coming in, and I do it so that I'm supplementing my income. I don't believe it's a good business environment for me to start a business right now, so I'm not. I'm waiting for a crash. So this China, U.S. struggle is great for me because if markets start to crash, that'll be great for me to start investing in my businesses. And I have many planned to come. So in the current term, I'm just an investor. So, all right. So one thing I can caution you about, and it's something interesting. If you sign up with Coinbase, which is one of the main exchanges, I'm not familiar with the other ones because I like to trade in Coinbase. It's the easiest for me, and I really don't want to take the time to learn all those other platforms. But if you're on those other platforms, great. But Coinbase gives you an option to do atomic swaps. Basically, you can swap one cryptocurrency for another main cryptocurrency, and currently they have about 7 or 8 cryptos listed on Coinbase. You've got Augur, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, BAT token, the basic attention token. The basic attention token, though, doesn't allow you to do atomic swaps, but the other altcoins allow you to do atomic swaps. So you can, without a fee, swap. Now, there may be tax implications for that. So I don't recommend that if you are following the tax laws to the T, you know, and I'm not a tax advisor, so I wouldn't give you any recommendations on that. But your ability to swap between cryptocurrencies is very easy on Coinbase. So what I would tend to do is I would tend to be on an altcoin. This is my trading strategy. It's not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I do. I'll go into an altcoin and I'll wait for Bitcoin to rally. When Bitcoin rallies, it tends to do it, you know, anywhere from 10 to 15%, maybe less, maybe 5 to 15%, I should say. And soon after, you'll see the altcoins rally, and those tend to go anywhere from 5 to 50% or 60%, depending upon the altcoin. So what I tend to do is I ride the altcoins up. And then when I feel like Bitcoin is going to correct, I will atomic swap into Bitcoin. Most people will think the opposite. They'll ride Bitcoin up, and then they'll try to atomic swap back into, or atomic swap into an altcoin. And the problem with that is altcoins tend to be more volatile. So when you're going down, since Bitcoin leads most other cryptocurrencies down or up, if you see Bitcoin going down, you don't want to be in an altcoin because the volatility of downside with the altcoin is greater than the volatility of the downside on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the bigger cryptocurrency, has more stability, and will move less downward. If you get a big crash, though, in cryptos, a big crash is a big crash. Doesn't matter what cryptocurrency you're in. So what I would tend to do, like I said, ride the altcoins up for the volatility issue, then swap into Bitcoin for the stability during the crash. And if you want to risk going into a stable coin like a US dollar coin or a Tether, that's up to you. Again, those are fractional reserve, and if it's just for trading purposes, I would do it too, because if you feel like the dollar is going to really, US dollar is going to really appreciate relative to cryptocurrencies, that's a great place to lock in some wealth too. But again, the tax implications of doing that, once you get attached to any form of dollar bill, you got US government tax implications. So, and they're much easier to trace with the US dollar, and especially since they claim to back their currency, their cryptocurrency or their stable coin with US dollars. They're purchasing dollars, so it's actually attached to dollars. It's very similar to liquidating to dollars. So it wouldn't be above me to assume that there's going to be major tax implications, and it's trackable, especially with Bitcoin as well. So I try to stay in cryptocurrencies, because with cryptocurrencies, it's a lot harder to trace your movements. And then eventually you can transfer it to other exchanges. But I'm with Bixweir on this. If you really don't want to lose your currency, your cryptocurrencies, don't leave it on the exchange. Put it on a hard wallet, or take it on some kind of wallet away from a crypto wallet, away from the exchanges. Because as you can see with Binance, it got hacked, and some believe that's an inside job. I believe it is an inside job, because it's not easy to do those kinds of hacks. You have to know something about the infrastructure of the exchange in order to do that. And so what I do on the exchanges is, if I do leave some coins on a crypto exchange, I usually commit them to a trade so that they're not liquid. They are committed to a trade, and it's in, I don't know if this will actually affect whether you're hackable or not, but it commits that money. So it's not what's known as available in your wallet, because it's committed to a trade. And so it makes it difficult to remove, at least as you the account owner. So I would assume it would be no different if you were a hacker coming in and you're trying to access those funds. They are already committed to a trade, and so the exchange has control over them until that trade is either canceled or completed. So that's a method that I try to do just to add another layer of complexity rather than it just sitting there in a wallet. But the other thing about Coinbase, sorry, is they offer two forms of wallet. One is a wallet and the other one is a vault. So you have two levels of security on Coinbase, at least. So this is one of the things I like about Coinbase. It is a more centralized exchange, but that's okay. I don't mind that. And it seems like they're communicating with the feds, and the SEC seem to be regulating it with a light hand. They're not really being heavy-handed on cryptocurrencies. So Coinbase I have more faith in than many of the other exchanges. So that's just my standpoint, and that's my update on it. So I'm loving the way the cryptocurrencies are moving. I'm loving it. And as far as my other investments, the oil has done well. I swapped out of oil and it dropped. There was a little bit of a rally and I missed out on that rally. I got in a little late and I was able to capitalize a little bit, but then I got out of it because I believed that oil was going to crash, and it has. I went into treasuries, and that has served me very well. But at this point, once there was a trade war starting, I believed that there is going to be an agreement eventually with China, and it will benefit both China and the U.S. That they're just saber rattling. You've got two big giants in a cage, and they're rattling the cage at each other. But it really doesn't serve the interests of both of those countries, the U.S. and China, to create a world trade war. They're too big, and they will just rip the world apart. So it behooves China and the U.S. to find a way to work it out without going to war. Eventually, I think there would be a war. The long term, I think that you're dealing with a capitalist philosophy versus a communist philosophy, and the two are irreconcilable unless China has been around long enough with its communism and its special economic regions and zones to see that capitalism actually works. And with Deng Xiaoping pushing it's glorious to be wealthy philosophy, I think that the communists may be seeing that capitalism is actually a good thing, even though communism is really a form of capitalism. It's a global capitalism where it's centralized to the elites. So we are already in communism technically by globalism. And what Donald Trump is basically doing is he is shaking China off of the U.S. because China pegs the yuan to the dollar. So by doing the tariffs, he's making it hard for them to do business by shutting down their industries, and it makes their currency appreciate in value as people want the currency because their businesses are going under and people need to pay bills and they need income and they're losing their jobs. So the currencies become valuable. Same thing with the dollar milkshake theory. Because these are two big global behemoths, their currencies are in demand, and China pegs to the US dollar especially. So the more China needs to pay back US denominated dollar loans, the more the dollar appreciates. And if they peg to the dollar, the yuan appreciates, and it hurts them so much more. So when people are saying that U.S. hurts more by the trade tariffs, I absolutely disagree. I think China is hurting big time. Trump is basically stabbing them for jumping on our backs. So it's like, and the rest of the U.S. is like globalist mentality already. We've been brainwashed into believing globalism is the way, the truth, and the light. And so we have basically Stockholm syndrome, where someone has been raping us so long that we've fallen in love with the rapist. And Trump is trying to save us from that rape. And we're like, no, you can't do that. It doesn't end well. We like the way it's going. I don't like the way it's going. And I believe that Trump is treating global international relations as if it's business, because basically the brand of the United States is like a corporation, and China is trying to take our market share. They're cutting into our hegemony, and they're doing it by stabbing us. And so it's only fair that we hurt them back in order to get them to play fair. And I don't think it's a permanent stab unless they really want to play tough. I think Trump will do it. He'll hurt them bad. but he's trying to shake them off. That's why we're seeing North Korea testing missiles again, because I believe the Chinese have interfered in that. And they're doing it through Russia also. And Iran. Iran has always been an issue with the past presidencies, except with the Obama administration, who ended up giving them money. So these are bigger issues that, again, if we get into a global downspin, we will have even cryptocurrencies at some point start to capitulate. Everything will capitulate. And the reason I say transfer from exchange to exchange is so it's harder to trace. I've done that when it comes to real estate. You know, the government tracks real estate here in the United States, and they track ownership. But if you transfer ownership enough times, government is so inefficient, it can't keep track of that many transactions because they don't expect people to do that. Because it's a risk, because if you transfer ownership to somebody else, they can steal your property. But if you're able to successfully transfer ownership of your property to multiple hands, they lose track, and then you transfer it back to yourself, they lose track of who owns it. And so I feel that is very similar to when you transfer your cryptocurrency from exchange to exchange to exchange back to your wallet and then move it around like that. Yeah, you pay fees in transferring, but at the same time, they can lose track of it. So you have to be careful how you do it. Some exchanges are more costly than others with their fees, but it's a way for you to keep more anonymous. So if you have that kind of a budget, you can do that. So I feel that cryptocurrencies are a more free way into the future. All right, with that, I'll end it because I've been on here long enough. I got to go back to work. And thank you. If you like this, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell notification so that you get notified every time I put up a video. And most importantly, share it to everybody you believe can benefit from the information that I provide. And you support me by sharing it. And in the links below, I often post in the links below, if maybe I'll forget, but you can go through my other videos. I have links where if you want to donate and support me, you can donate Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. I love Litecoin. Litecoin is my favorite. And, so if you would like to donate that to me, I more than welcome any donation, any support I can get. Because YouTube will not allow me to monetize at this point. The conservative view is in the limelight, and anything that's anti-establishment, which cryptocurrencies currently are, until they become established, which is to come, they will not be monetized, they will not be shared. So word of mouth is the best way to do it. The algorithms for YouTube and for Google and all that are basically against any free knowledge. We are in very fascist times. So word of mouth is very, very important. If you'll share this, I'd appreciate it. All right. Love you guys. See you in the next video. Peace.